Welcome to MindShock. This is your host, Bruce McGuire, and you are listening to the refinement of the system. Part 4, hopefully, the final part. I put final, so we're dug in. So we really have to try to finish this up. But it is Craig we're dealing with here, but I think we'll be able to do it. We are refining the entire logical analysis system for analyzing debates of any kind. So, the previous system, I think the very first one was fallacies only. Then I added zingers for more entertainment value. Now, Craig has dropped the floor out on fallacies so many times over that we had to add super fallacies, dingers, and now fallacy combos. Although, in all fairness, some of the previous debates might have also had super fallacies, dingers, and fallacy combos, but Craig has just made it so painfully obvious that these need to be added to refine the system further. So, this is kind of like the 3 point line being added to basketball, or simply in decisions in combat sports, you're not going to count basic light jabs or love taps the same way as you would high power shots or significant strikes in combat sports scoring. So that's pretty much what we're doing here in trying to objectively, logically, neutrally analyze logical fallacies with empirically verifiable definitions. So we can limit the subjectivity as much as possible, if not outright eliminated, if that's possible. As always, if you enjoy the Mind Shock podcast, want to help support the podcast, want to help logic and reason return to a world where it is quickly going extinct, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. If you're still not getting them, just like and comment on more videos. That's how the YouTube algorithm works. But just to be safe, you can just check youtube.com/mindshock to manually peruse our ever-growing back catalog, as well as check for updates manually in the community tab. I post heads up for streams and all of that in there. It should be sending out notifications for community updates as well, but YouTube rarely sends them out. So you can check them yourself. Like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcaster requests. You could also be a guest on the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. So I'll wait a few minutes. Hopefully people will find the stream, even if the update or the notification didn't go out. We made a lot of progress the last 2 days in refining the system. As soon as a couple more people get in here, I'll go over what we did so far. And then we'll try to finish this up. We don't have too much longer. I'm just going over my own analysis, part 1 and part 2, of the debate between the one and only Craig of Fight the Flat Earth and Caleb, KCD Industry. So this debate, obvious so-called debate, I don't know, I don't know under what criteria this would even qualify as a debate, but it made it painfully obvious that the system needed to be refined. There were even suggestions to add maybe health bars, like a fighting video game. Health bars, energy bars, possibly fallacy combos, increasing some kind of specialty bar, special move bar. We're also probably going to add zinger combos and maybe super zingers, although they might be rare. I can't recall wanted, like, basically the other criteria I use, if you're drinking something and what someone says causes you to spit your drink out, that could elevate to super fallacy or dinger status. I think the same rule could apply for zingers. Something that really, really gets your attention or just drops the floor out on just pure stupidity, whatever the case may be. So I think we're almost done. Not too much more. The one and only Heracles, he, what I called now the Heracles rule, we will consider baselines. So, for example, if you're scoring a Mike Tyson boxing match, his light jab might be a scrawny fighter's heavy power shot or significant strike. So, we have to factor in the baseline of the individual when deciding on either super fallacies or dingers. I'm hoping we at least get some of the usual suspects in here that helped develop this new system. This is obviously just a rough draft overlay I have on here. So far, Craig, under the new system, committed 19 super fallacies. So they would be subtracted from his regular fallacies. Dingers are 17 dingers, and he actually got several super dingers. A super dinger is something stated that is just so astoundingly dumb. It qualifies simultaneously as a super fallacy and dinger. So Craig got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 super dingers. So 19 super fallacies, 17 dingers, 8 super dingers, and 4 fallacy combos. So fallacy combos are simply uninterrupted streams of fallacies. Like in a fighting game, you get off all these blows without the opponent getting any blows in the interim or you yourself taking a long pause. So fallacy combo is just a rapid succession of combinations of fallacies. So either 3 or 4 fallacies in 1 to 2 seconds, or maybe 10 fallacies or more, and you can take longer as long as they're just delivered uninterrupted. Because we have to give credit where credit is due. Not anyone can just stream fallacies uninterrupted. I mean, Craig's good at it. Obviously, the one and only Michael Sartain, the as of yet undisputed, undefeated, reigning, defending Dunning Kruger champ. I mean, Michael Sartain is the current champ. But now that we have the new system, the next part of the analysis of the Craig versus Caleb MindShock debate, the MindShock analysis of the debate, part 3 will be utilizing the new system with the adjusted metrics. So, for example, if this is the final count, which it probably won't be, we have a little bit left to go, that would mean so if Craig had 19 super fallacies, his regular fallacy count would be lowered to 304 instead of 323. And then the dingers would still, it would be 17 dingers, and fallacy combos, he would still have 4. We were discussing whether or not if you incorporate a super dinger in your fallacy combo, whether or not that could elevate or or initiate a multiplier, activate a multiplier where maybe if you're using super fallacies or super dingers in your fallacy combo, maybe the fallacy combo should have a multiplier. We haven't made a decision on that yet, but that's all on the table. It's on the table. We got to figure that out. So far, Craig has not used a super dinger within a fallacy combo, but he did get, I think, did he get two super dingers back to back? I don't know. I kind of forgot. This was last night. I wonder if, was it two super fallacies back to back or two super dingers back to back? I don't, did we talk about it? If you do two super fallacies back to back, does that automatically qualify for a fallacy combo? Or should it be three back to back super fallacies? Three consecutive super fallacies? Would that automatically qualify for a fallacy combo? These are the important questions. We got to figure this stuff out for the new system. This is what we need to figure out. Ultimate TV 9000. Caleb's got a NASA hat. You know what's funny? I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice that. Heracles just got it. You didn't miss anything, Heracles. I was just setting the stage for new listeners. So I didn't actually play the video yet. We're still where we left off. I just summarized everything that happened so far. So Heracles is in the house. So the Heracles rule is baseline, and then Heracles also has a second rule, which also is baseline dependent. Let's say someone says something incredibly dumb and fallacious. So they either hit a super fallacy or a dinger or a super dinger. So if you were drinking something, you Ultimate TV 9000. That's funny. So you spit out your drink, and then they say the same super fallacy or dinger again. It's not going to make you spit your drink out again because you just heard it. So now you're aware of what kind of goof is talking. So now the baseline has adjusted. So now, in order for you to spit your drink out again, they'd have to say something even dumber. So that's an automatic baseline adjustment. Baseline is always adjusted in real time. So if somebody, let's say they're hitting a fallacy combo, for the first one or two of the fallacies in the combo, if it's a super fallacy or a dinger, the baseline is automatically adjusted. So throughout the end of the sentence, they would have to up the ante on a fallacy in order to hit another super fallacy or dinger within the combo. And of course, not within the combo, but it's all real time. So even if it's within the combo, that's Heracles' rule too. They would have to repeat something incredibly dumb 3 to 5 times in a row. Because even if they're not upping the ante, if they make it clear there's no mental processing going on, like Craig likes to do, they would have to repeat something, let's say, 3 to 5 times in a row. Because then you might spit your drink out, even though they didn't up the ante, they repeated the same stupidity. Not once, not twice, not thrice, but at least quadrice or quintice. So, yeah, that would, according to the Heracles rule, they could still get a super fallacy or dinger for repeating the same thing if they meet a certain threshold for repeating the same thing X amount of times in a row without making any kind of progress or adjustment in the argument. And Heracles, feel free to dispute that if if I didn't get that accurate or if you meant something else. But that's what we were talking about the last few days. So we're really going to try to make this the absolute last part and get the system really dialed in here. And if anybody has any questions or suggestions for further categories, we might be adding super zingers as well. But so far, nothing's been a super zinger. Caleb's gotten 18 regular zingers, but nothing that would elevate above and beyond the other zingers. Like, it needs to be separated head and shoulders above, whether we're talking dingers or zingers. If you want to get a super dinger or a super zinger, you got to really up the ante substantially from to separate from the others. All right, none of the usual, other than Heracles, the other usual suspects aren't in here. I don't know. We'll give it another couple minutes, and then I'm gonna have to get started on this just so we can guarantee that we can finish it up. Ultimate TV 9000. Any thoughts on any of this? Anybody else in here with thoughts? Bueller, Bueller, Bueller. What is this, a Monday? Our Monday's just slow. All right, Heracles is all caught up. Where's everybody else at? Is it just a slow Monday? I was hoping we'd get some of the usual suspects from the past couple days in here for input and feedback. But I guess we'll start rolling and see what happens. I mean, this is so tough.
Well, no, we can measure the return speed of light. It's fine. That's absolutely
Yeah, so
valid.
if it's going.
Wait. The return speed is fine. Oh, man. So if you're doing a rigorous scientific experiment, not just rigorous, but groundbreaking. I mean, this is well above and beyond some kind of an experiment that could be measuring how long it might take you to travel, let's say, 100 miles back and forth somewhere. So if you only measure the return leg and not the initial leg of the journey, and then you're just going to assume and round the initial leg, is that a rigorous scientific test? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that would elevate to super fast. The fact that he said it's fine, like, he just said it's fine. We don't need to actually have rigorous measurements in both directions of anything. Or if you do a race, it's there and back. You only need to measure the back. Heracles says dinger. It's fine. If he hadn't added the it's fine, like, it's totally fine to only do half of the measurements and assume that they would suffice for not just a rigorous, but a rigorous and revolutionary test of gravitational waves or whatever. Heracles says dinger. I'm thinking super dinger. It's fine, really. It's fine. Oh, man. I mean, that could hit compositional logical fallacy. For example, saying, I mean, it would be in the same category because you only have half of information. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but if you see someone drive down if someone claims they're going to Los Angeles and you're in New York, if you see them pull out of their driveway and head down the road, because you saw them leave, does that mean they got to Los Angeles? So, compositional logical fallacies are parts to a whole. You have a certain part and you attribute it to the whole. And also false premise, obviously. You could also go hasty generalization, where just kind of you're generalizing that because you don't need to get into super specifics of measuring everything. I'm leaning super dinger for that one. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Heracles says regular dinger. I'm leaning super dinger. What do you think, Heracles? What about everybody else in here? Ultimate TV now. Heracles seems to have been swayed. Super dinger. I mean, just it's fine. Just like he's rationalizing to himself that scientism is just as good as science. That you don't need to actually be rigorous. I mean, even in sports, which are obviously much less consequential than revolutionary concepts like the speed of light or gravitational waves, even in sports, they time each lap. They don't just time the total, whatever the distance race is. They don't just look at the total time. I mean, they have each lap time. So yeah, I mean, I'm going super dinger on this one. All right, so let's continue here.
Going in one direction and coming another direction, how do we know it didn't go 75% and 25% in the way back? How do we know? How do we decide that?
Mechanism for that to be the case, and it doesn't match any other observational data. But excuse me.
It doesn't match any other observational data. Well, first of all, what other observational data? Because is this a red herring or a non sequitur? I mean, I don't know if it's a non sequitur. There's some relation. So if that's a red herring. Now, keeping Heracles' rule in mind with the baseline, I mean, just because of Craig's baseline, I don't know if that would qualify just for super fallacy or dinger. What? What is he talking? What did Craig say? I mean, I don't know. He's like, how do you know something because it matches other things? I mean, that's tough. I mean, if we use the example of, let's say, track athletes running a race, I mean, you could say, oh, look at all the other athletes. They run the first lap slower than the last lap, or vice versa. That must mean that that any new information, it has to be in line with that. It's just the sheer impossibility for a runner to deviate too much from what every other runner does. Eric, but he doesn't even know if it yeah. Well, he doesn't know anything about anything, does he? So, well, let's keep that baseline in mind. So, so yeah, I think based on the Heracles rule, this would not elevate to super fallacy or dinger. For anybody else, I would say it would. Does that sound does that sound good, Heracles? Just because of his base, anybody else saying that would be astoundingly dumb. But for him, it's kind of within the average of his statements. It's not enough of a deviation. Yeah. So let's continue.
How could it match observational data if that observational data wasn't made, as he just admitted it was a return speed? And again, he's hallucinating all of the equipment used to measure this is somehow magically infallible. I mean, again, I don't know how Caleb does this.
We know the time, the total time for it to take to get there and back. Right, the total time is what's important here, not the one-way time.
Okay, I don't know what to do with this. So he's saying the one-way time is not only not important. I mean, this could be a multi-stacked false premise, because How would you know? See, again, or is he also assuming ether's not real? Is he also assuming the technology used to measure the time is absolutely accurate? And when you're dealing in very, very precise, I mean, we're talking the speed of light. Like, let's go back to my running example. So let's say 300 years ago, they didn't have the digital time tools to measure to whatever, 100th or 1,000th of a second. They didn't have those precise time. They were using stopwatches or whatever. And of course, each human operating the stopwatch, the fraction of a second could be off. If it's a much older person operating the stopwatch or a non elite athlete with fast reflexes, they're going to hit the stopwatch a little bit slower. And we're talking just about humans running a lap. We're not talking about the speed of light here. Now, when we're talking about the speed of light and the precision required, the hallucination stack of infallible technology and the circular reasoning fallacy stack of there's no ether or something else that could be affecting the measurements. Because if the speed of light isn't even constant, what does that mean? So I think this is enough for a super dinger. I mean, it's iffy though. It's iffy because of his baseline. It's iffy. Just the fact that he's hallucinating one-way time is not important, while stacking the circular reasoning logical fallacies on everything from the technology can't be fallible to there can't be ether to the speed of light is constant in the first place. I mean, look at this huge stack of fallacies. This is super dinger, in my opinion. Yeah, he didn't even cite what the measurements were. That's a good point, Heracles. He didn't even back up his statement in the first place. But even if he did, I'm kind of steel manning him. Let's say he did say what the measurements were. It would still be a super dinger because he's hallucinating that the technology is infallible. He's hallucinating that the ether can't be real. He's hallucinating that the speed of light is even constant. So yeah, that's super. I mean, there's just the stack of these circular reasoning fallacies. I don't want to say false premise because it might not be false, but the circular reasoning, that's like a triple circular reasoning fallacy. so so yeah, he just got another super dinger. I mean, he's on a roll. That's 2 back-to-back super dingers. Or did Caleb say something in between that? So what happens if he combos 3 super dingers, Heracles? If he combos 3 super dingers, what are we gonna do with that? Is that a fallacy combo with a multiplier, with a super dinger multiplier? So should that fallacy combo count? Should that be a 10x fallacy combo? Should that count as 10 fallacy combos? I mean, I know nobody else would probably. You missed something big, Sphinx Bear. Craig just comboed 2 super dingers in a row. And his previous super dinger, he actually did a triple circular reasoning stack. So that would only a double qualify as a super fallacy, but he got a triple within the super dinger. Yes, Heracles, it does need to be constant. This might be a once in a lifetime occurrence. I mean, other than him and Sartain, like I don't think anybody else could even combo super dingers. Ethan says it should be cubed, a cube multiplier. Sphinx Spear, what do you think? If someone actually combos 3, he just comboed 2 super dingers. If someone combos 3 super dingers, should that have a multiplier for fallacy combo bonus, or should it be something else? Did anybody think we would actually be discussing the fact that like Craig was getting three back to back super dingers? Like I didn't even think that would be possible. Because for the people that just got in here, he triple circular reasoning fallacy because he's saying that the return speed of light, you don't need to measure everything. My parallel example was, even as something as inconsequential as a track meet, they're still going to time every lap. They're not just going to take the ultimate time. And he's also basically engaging in a circular reasoning fallacy by assuming the technology to measure is infallible. He's also committing a reductive logical fallacy in not even considering that ether could be a factor as well as the speed of light not actually being constant as assumed. So he just did a triple circular reasoning fallacy with a reductive fallacy stacked on it. That's 4 fallacies in a row for his latest super dinger. The super dinger before that was saying that it's fine that you don't even need it. You only need to know the speed one way and not the other way in general. I mean, we're talking about very, very precise, rigorous scientific experiments and measurements here. And he just hand waves it away. Oh, it's fine. So he just went back to back super dinger. So Sphinx Bear says multiplier makes sense. I think so too. I wish all the other usual suspects from the past few days were in here so we could really get everybody's opinion. Now, if he doesn't do another super dinger here, it doesn't really matter, I guess. But if he does hit it, what's going to happen? Ethan said, Craig went Super Saiyan logical fallacy. Power up like a Dragon Ball Z character. Well, that's the thing. So, of his fans, I think a large percentage don't really believe that. I think they're just really, really scummy people that are cheerleading Craig's meltdown. I think they just get some kind of sick pleasure about watching a mentally disabled, mentally ill person spiral and combust, and they cheerlead it. I mean, who could be dumb enough to think, that Craig actually knows what he's talking about here? And I mean, obviously, a certain percentage might also be mentally disabled, mentally ill people who find someone similar like themselves in Craig, so they are honestly supporting him. But I wouldn't assume that's the majority of his base. Heracles says that's wishful thinking. But I mean, like I said, I don't know who they are. But, I mean, there are obviously some very, very scummy people out there that do cheerlead mentally ill and mentally disabled people. I don't know the numbers. I was just throwing out different possibilities. I mean, just based on the way I mean, one of Craig's supporters was roasting him in the chat in his first meltdown video about the MINDSHOCK analysis because he kept saying that it was appealing to the stone or poisoning the well. And this one of his supporters, I forgot his username. He's a major anti-flat earther, and he was roasting Craig, saying it's clearly that's not the fallacy because I wasn't claiming that what he was saying was wrong, and Craig just couldn't comprehend it. Ethan says his fans are just people who start bum fights in back alleys. Craig is the champion of the bums. Ethan, where have you been for the last few episodes I did on this, on refining the system? I don't know if you were in here. I don't remember. All right, so let's find out. We're waiting with bated breath. I'm gonna hit play, and if Craig commits another super dinger right now, then he's gonna get the multiplier, and we'll figure what that is. We'll figure out what that is.
Actually, that's exactly what Caleb asked about. So pretending something's not important. I mean, that's actually really important. This might be a super fallacy as well. If it takes you a certain amount of time to drive from whatever, New York to LA and back, and you broke the speed limit a whole bunch of times one way, not the other way, and your total time was the same as somebody else who did it in a different vehicle or whatever, it's kind of important to know how long it took to go one way versus the other way, especially if you're trying to be extremely accurate. For example, gas mileage at different speeds, because obviously, you know, the gas mileage is gonna differ based on how fast you're going. So to just look at the total round trip time and say it's inconsequential, I mean, what kind of level of gophery is this? I mean, it's almost like Craig is intentionally trying to provide the dumbest arguments while appearing.
You know, it's funny, just the surprise in my voice when I was doing the analysis the first time. Like, the fact that Craig was just continually able to just drop the floor out on Goofery. Like, he just kept, like, you would think it would be impossible to make dumber statements, but Craig is up to the challenge. Like, it's crazy. No worries, Ethan. Okay, cool, Sphinx Bear.
To be the most mentally disabled individual to ever participate in a flat earth debate. Again, if that's his goal, congratulations, Craig. Congratulations. Because I don't think anybody can argue that he accomplished that. I've never seen anybody argue worse than this. I mean, just there's no cognitive function here. I mean, there's practically none at all. And then, of course, even again, he's not even on a kindergarten English level. Even a kindergartner knows. Like, if there's two groups of people, if the class is split into two groups, one group's going to recess, one group's having nap time, saying, we know. Well, who knows what? If the nap time group, if they're playing kickball and they scored X amount of points, and the kid, you can't just say, we know that. Who knows? He's speaking for somebody else. He can only speak for himself. Because even among scientists, there's dissent on basically
I think I assumed gender there. My bad.
everything. So this collective narcissism of we know, we went to the moon. No. Individuals might think they know, which is completely different. But if he's not even on a, you know, preschool first grade English level, I mean, there's really nothing substantive to be had here.
Time there and back, and when that total time changes, matching the predictions of what we expect to happen from a collision of large masses like black holes, then that's what it's detecting based on our predictions. If you are saying it is from something else, like the perturbations of the magnetic field of Earth, then you would have to substantiate that, like I said, by measuring the perturbations of the magnetic field of Earth and seeing if that coincides with the fringe shift detected in LIGO, which matches the predictions of gravitational waves.
Wow. I'm giving... Was that 2 extra super dingers or just 1? Because he just had a 12 fallacy stream, including at minimum 2 back-to-back super dingers. I'm thinking to give him 2 additional super zingers there because, first of all, he roped in again his misunderstanding of the scientific method and the matching of predictions. So he just went false cause, reductive logical fallacies, post hoc logical fallacy, and circular reasoning logical fallacy, and false dichotomy in the middle of that stream. While not just that, not only that, but while misunderstanding Caleb's question in the first place. Oh man. No, that's 4 super fallacies in a row, so we're going to have to decide on the multiplier. So while you guys are discussing what the multiplier should be, let me just add the additional 2 super zingers. So Craig just streamed 4 back-to-back super dingers and sprinkling in other fallacies as well. Because I think that was a stream of approximately 12 fallacies in a row with 4 back-to-back super dingers. Even like I'm still shocked. Like even when I was thinking of the new system, I didn't actually think we would be going all the way to multipliers. I mean, yeah, you guys are all witnessing history. Not only did we have to elevate to super fallacies and dingers for Craig, not only did we have to elevate to super dingers, but now we have to make multipliers for super dinger fallacy combination. Oh man, this is insane. This is absolutely insane. So Craig just went 4 back-to-back super dingers. Oh man, this is crazy. So Sphinx Bear says 10x multiplier, but that seems kind of harsh. I'm not sure if that seems harsh because he earned it. I mean, do we honestly think like one of the things Dave Scott said too with dingers, because he kind of invented the dinger, is he doesn't want it to be too common. I don't think the 10x multiplier might never happen again in any other on non-Craig debate. It might never happen ever. So the 10x multiplier, I don't think that's too harsh at all. What does everybody else think? Yes, Heracles. It does need to be because we might not ever see a stream of 3 or 4 or even 2 super dingers in a row. I think we might see 2 super dingers in a row. So I don't want to activate the multiplier just for 2. It needs to be activated at 3. So if he gets 3 in a row, I think that should 10x. And should it 10x for each one after that? So should he get 10 fallacy combo points for the 3 and then 100 for the 4th one? What do you guys think about that? Because as soon as you hit 3 super dingers in a row, you should enable the 10x multiplier. So then if he gets a 4th one, so that automatically gets 10 fallacy combo points. And then he got a 4th one, so that should be another 10x multiplier. So he should get 100 fallacy combo points. And then if he does a 5th one, should that be 1,000 fallacy I mean, even Craig, like actually, if Craig keeps rolling, I think Caleb's going to say something. If Caleb doesn't say anything and Craig keeps rolling for another super dinger and he gets a 5th one, I think he was done speaking there. But let's say for if he did go for another super dinger, should it 10x every time exponentially? I mean, I can't say it's going to be rare in Craig debates, but in non Craig debates, because I really don't remember, like, even Sartain, he didn't go, he was just kind of spamming standard fallacies the whole time. I mean, there were definitely a couple of supers in there, but most of the time he was just going 10, 15 standard ones in a row. Ethan says full send. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it then. So this will be the rule. 3 super dingers in a row enables a 10x multiplier on fallacy combo points. This is going to be tough at the end when we summarize this on how fallacy combo points are going to be weighted against regular fallacies and super fallacies, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Enables, okay, the 10x multiplier. So now on the 3rd fallacy combo in a row, that would elevate him to 14 because that counted as 10. So on the 4th one, that got 100. So now he's at 114 on the fallacy combo counter. I wonder if anybody foresaw this. So Riz, yeah. Well, Riz got here. I see his comment from even like 10 minutes ago. So you heard all that, Riz, right? With the multiplier? No, I think Riz was here. Scroll up. His comment, hi, Bruce, hi, chat, hi, Craig, was from about, I think, 10 minutes ago. So, Riz, did you get all that? Craig just hit 4 super dingers in a row for a 10x multiplier. So he has 114 fallacy combo points. Oh man, this is crazy. Did anybody envision this? I don't think any of us were prepared for this. All right, so let's continue.
Wow. So completely didn't understand anything. How does he know that's not what LIGO is measuring already? Not to mention it was all injected data anyway.
Okay, so how
Oh, the streak ended there. That would have been crazy if he kept rolling. Now, he did also, I didn't even count the circular reasoning of LIGO even doing what they were purporting to do in counting those super dingers. But yeah, I'm gonna leave that alone because if we have to go review that, he might have hit a 5th super dinger, but I don't know. We're gonna leave it alone. Let's just try to get through this.
do we isolate that gravitational waves are causing the fringe shift in the interferometry equipment at LIGO? How do we isolate it? You can't just say, like, I hope you realize you saying that, oh, we make a prediction and that prediction is substantiated in reality, so that means my theory is right. If I make the same predictions with electromagnetism or the ether or anything else, and the predictions match the math that I create for the observation, my theory is equally as valid as yours.
I mean, I don't understand how Craig is just this dumb. I don't think he could tie his own shoes. I really don't at this point. Like, let's get this even dumber. Let's boil this down. If you believe Bigfoot drops off your mail in the morning, so you predict that Bigfoot is going to drop off the mail. So if the mail is in the mailbox at the time that you predict, and then you make the observation,
should using a Bigfoot mailbox fallacy have a multiplier? I mean, maybe for science debate where you're expected to know the scientific method. For non-scientific debates, it shouldn't have a multiplier. But should the Bigfoot mailbox fallacy have a multiplier?
oh look, you went and
Bigfoot might be real, but if Bigfoot is real, it's not because someone predicted that their mail would be brought by Bigfoot if it happens to show up in the mailbox when they check the mailbox.
checked your mail and the mail was there. That must mean Bigfoot delivered it because that was your prediction. It couldn't have been the mailman. It couldn't have been it couldn't have been Chupacabra or Mothman. It could only have been Bigfoot because it matched the prediction at the time. According to Craig, I mean, think about how dumb that is. And that's all Craig has.
What would you say you do here?
You have to isolate. You have to isolate the independent variable.
What do you guys think of that sound effect for a dinger? Or is just that not radical enough? We need something more radical. Super fallacy, I might use like a Street Fighter sound effect or something for a super fallacy. And then fallacy combo, same thing. I forgot what that Fatal Instinct had like a lot of crazy combinations. Anybody here play Fatal Instinct? Was it Fatal Fury or Fatal Instinct? Or were they were both fighting games, right? One might have been a knockoff of the other. I'll have to see what fighting game has the craziest sound effects for combinations. The clown horn for super dingy.
To show that gravitational waves are affecting laser equipment in LIGO. You have not done that, so you cannot say that that's proof of the bending and warping of space-time.
I mean, that should end it right there. I mean, I don't think Craig knows what an independent variable is, dependent variable is, or what controls are. But yes, you have to isolate the variables in order to know that it wasn't Mothman or the mailman. It could only have been Bigfoot. And even then, you'd have to manipulate variables to really prove that in the sense of the word prove. But yeah, I mean, good job, Caleb. I mean, if he can't grasp that, there's just. I mean, I know Caleb is doing this for the audience, but still, we have to applaud him. We have to applaud him for this.
I think we need to explore opening and closing arguments because was that you, Heracles, who said that they should be weighted more? We'll talk about that at the end again, but should everything just count double in opening and closing arguments? Or at least in closing arguments? Or should everything count double in the opening and count triple for the closing? No, because you did have a good point, or whoever brought that up, because they had time to prepare the opening at least, and probably the close. But the close, now they have all the information that was just brought forth throughout the entire so-called debate. So they could add information they might not have previously had on the fly if they have the intellectual capacity to do so. So the closing arguments should definitely weigh more than the opening arguments, but by the same token, the opening arguments should weigh more than the middle of the debate, theoretically, if we're weighing it that way. So should opening be counted double and closing triple? And what would that do for multipliers? Wow. I mean, we're almost done here, so let's finish this up and then we could discuss all that.
Okay, so again, you just said a bunch of things saying, oh, it's equally as valid if I have this mass. But the thing is, the mathematical model that you are suggesting doesn't exist.
Oh, man. Well, first of all, it does exist if we're talking electric universe and electromagnetic forces. Second of all, it doesn't need to exist because that wasn't Caleb's point. So if that's not a super dinger, I don't know what is. Because even with Craig's baseline, Caleb, first, like that's a double false premise right there. Well, technically, you could say that's a triple false premise since he doesn't know what the scientific method is. That's a triple false premise, so that's automatically a super fallacy. Now, is it also a dinger? I would say yes, because it's just such a dumb thing to say. Actually, you know what? Here's a good question. Should all super fallacies be a dinger, but not all dingers are super fallacies? Because if you just say something dumb, like, for example, attempt to insult your opponent, but it falls flat, that might not have nothing to do with fallacies, but it's a dinger. But so far, we haven't counted all super fallacies as dingers. Now, I guess they shouldn't be, because there might be innocent super fallacies, just basic ignorance that aren't that humiliating to qualify as a dinger. So I guess it's fine. We can keep them separate. So this is definitely a super fallacy because he just went triple false premise, so he upped the ante because he's only been able to hit a double false premise before. He just hit a triple false premise. So that's a super fallacy. I was going to say, if you hit a triple of the same fallacy within a fallacy stack, should that automatically qualify for a fallacy combo? But I'm saying no, because a combination implies more than one. So it's simultaneous. You think it should be a super dinger? I think it's based on pure ignorance, so I don't think it's as humiliating as if, for example, like when he asked Caleb to prove what Caleb said he asked Caleb to prove a point that Caleb didn't make. Like that's dinger territory because that's just pure stupidity. Here, it's a triple false premise based on his ignorance if he's not acting, like if he has a genuine mental disability. So I'm not 100% sure that should qualify as dinger. Does anybody else have input here? It's definitely a super fallacy. Is it a super dinger though? Riz, what do you think? Or any of the other listeners. Heracles votes super dinger, and Heracles is the one who created the Heracles rule, which is based on baseline. So Ethan says yes because he thinks he's doing it intentionally. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough because we don't know for sure whether he's mentally disabled or not. And if he is mentally disabled, we still don't know whether he's doing it for sure or not. So he might be doing it for sure, but can we say that that's objective 100% truth? I mean, look at his face. I'm not willing to say with certainty. I don't make any claims, and I'm not willing to make the claim that he's acting for. It's for sure that he's acting. What's the super finger idea, Sphinx Bear? Or super dinger? It's definitely a super fallacy because he just stacked a triple false premise. Super dingers should be rare, but I mean, I don't know. On the basis of rarity, I would say I would hold off. Should we always give the benefit of the doubt to each debater? If so, then that's just a super fallacy and not a super dinger. Riz says he's brain dead, but it's still intentional, so yes. I'm not 100% sure it's intentional, though. I'm really not. I'm not. Oh, super. So Sphinx Bear and Heracles vote super dinger. Oh, and Ethan votes. Everybody votes super dinger except for me. Is there anybody else who's on my side who thinks this might not be a super dinger and just a super fallacy? I don't know. This is hard. This is hard. This is so difficult because of his baseline. I think factoring the baseline, it shouldn't be a super dinger. For anybody else, no question. This is a super dinger. Even then, though, Ethan, just based on his own stupidity and his baseline, even if he's doing it intentionally, he's got to say something even dumber to qualify for a super dinger, just because of the established baseline. So even if he's acting and doing it on purpose, we still require that deviation. And I hope you guys aren't mad at me, but I think I'm leaning to just super fallacy. Am I the only one on Craig's side here? It's so funny. People think like I'm against Craig. Like I'm trying to help him out as much as possible here. He should be thanking me for sticking up for him.
What? So he's going to flat out denial? That's interesting. Okay.
Okay, once again, we have some idiot scientists seeking publicity for more
Ken Wheeler, so hilarious.
funding. So instead of tool, but two, but this is the exact same thing. If you're actually to block out
Oh, the reason I brought up this clip is because Craig was saying the model doesn't exist.
either pair of these on either side, block out this pair, block out that pair. This is the exact same thing that they report as
Can you imagine if Ken debated Craig?
having seen, and it's nothing other than simplex EM phase shift retardation. But this is the exact same thing they report in their own video as seeing. You actually see a vortex of binary objects rotating around a point, a null point of maximum acceleration and inertia. Is this any proof of Einstein's gravity waves? No, it's simplex electromagnetic theory. It's very, very simplex electromagnetic theory. This doesn't prove Einstein at all. It actually, all it does is it reinforces Tesla, reinforces James Clerk Maxwell.
Okay, so obviously this is fallacious. We can go into a bunch of different fallacies for this. I'm just trying to keep this as simple as possible. This is simply a false cause logical fallacy, which is, of course, one of Craig's favorite go-to fallacies, which he's been spamming for hours. Now, obviously, it's...
Okay, I don't mean to make this more complicated. So technically that was a triple false premise, but it also was false cause and reductive and circular reasoning fallacy. So that was 6 fallacies at once. So 3 fallacies make a super fallacy. What if you hit like 10 fallacies with a single statement? But what is that? What would that do? Is there a multiplier? Because he just stacked 6, 3 of which were the same fallacy, which is impressive in and of itself. He just stacked a triple false premise on top of a circular reasoning and a false cause and a false dichotomy, because he also argues it can't be anything else. And technically, wouldn't that also be a post hoc in there as well? Wait, so how many fallacies is that? I mean, I haven't talked about this fallacy. It could also be the invincible ignorance fallacy, where because technically, hold on a second. Hold on a second here. Mr. 1-to-1 in the house. Welcome. Okay, hold on. In this same statement, though, Craig just did a triple false premise, a false cause, a circular reasoning, a false dichotomy, and a fallacy which I haven't talked about yet, invincible ignorance fallacy, also known as an argument by pigheadedness, because he just refused to even acknowledge that there's any other model that accounts for this. Obviously, electromagnetic does. So if 3 fallacies automatically qualifies as a super fallacy, so let's go over it again. He went triple false premise, circular reasoning, false dichotomy, false cause, reductive logical fallacy, false dichotomy, and invincible ignorance. That's 9 fallacies. He stacked 9 fallacies in a single statement. I might have even missed another one. He just stacked 9, not 6, Sphinx Bear. It's 9. 3 of them it was a triple false premise as well. He just stacked 9. I've never seen this before. This is historic. Like, I actually thought it would be borderline impossible to stack 3, which is why we have the super fallacy. He just stacked 9. And I might have missed one. I mean, there's literally like there's dozens and dozens of fallacies. There might even be 100. He stacked at least 9 with that one. Actually, he might have also strawman, because not an intentional strawman, but he didn't even understand what Caleb was saying. No, that's technically, I think that's a strawman too. That would be 10, because he was saying the model doesn't exist, which wasn't even the point of what Caleb was saying. That's 10 fallacies. He just stacked 10 fallacies. Ethan, you're right. That's why we're redoing the entire system. Because I don't believe Sartain should be the champion just because he can verbal diarrhea more basic fallacies than Craig. Because Craig can stack 10 fallacies in a single statement. I don't think Sartain can do that. Maybe he can. Let's not underestimate Sartain. He's the champ for a reason. But I don't think he can stack 10, three of which being the same fallacy for different issues. Heracles, I need your help here. He just stacked 10 fallacies in a single statement. And we gave him the super fallacy for that. But I'm just saying, if you stack 3 and you stack 10, why does that only count as one super fallacy? There should be a multiplier. If we use the same rule of the 10x multiplier, like if you get, so chaining 3 super dingers gets you a 10x multiplier for fallacy combo, should stacking more than 3, so 4 or more, because 3 fallacies qualifies as a super fallacy. So if you stack, so Heracles says, if you stack 6, it triples 9, 10x, 12, 100. Well, he just stacked 10 fallacies in a single statement. I really didn't think that was possible. Like I've been studying logic for a long time, people. I'm not going to claim to have taught it, although I might have. I'm not going to claim to have several different degrees, although I might. I would never use them. But I've never seen something like this before. I've been doing this for many, many years. I've never seen anything like Craig before. I don't know what this thing that Craig is, but I've never seen this before. To stack 10 fallacies in a single statement, like all these other analyses I did, like these people made huge stacks of fallacies, but not in a single statement. You know, throughout the course of an hour, they're going to fallacy stack a house of cards. Craig's doing it with single statements. This is incredible. Ethan said Craig is laying down fallacies interdimensionally. Timelines were merging. I mean, I can't believe this. This guy stacked 10 fallacies with a single statement. And that's coming on, this is coming off of chaining super dingers and double and triple fallacies. He just stacked 10. That's why I had to stop it. I was like, wait a second. He committed way more fallacies than usual with that one. And I counted 10. I might have even missed 1 or 2, but he definitely, yeah, I think I counted reductive. Yeah, so he got 10 in a single statement. This is the most I think this is the most impressive fallacy stack I've ever seen in my entire life. To stack 10 fallacies, but not only that, he stacked 10 while not even understanding what Caleb said. So it's not a regular 10. So it's not like he understood what Caleb said, unless you guys think he's faking. But if he didn't understand what Caleb said, it was a 10 fallacy stack without understanding what Caleb said, which is different than a 10 fallacy stack while understanding what Caleb said. Does this break the counter, Heracles? The whole counter's gonna break. I can't believe this. I'm in shock and awe right now. Okay, so let's figure out the multiplier. So Heracles suggests, I mean, I'm not sure though, because stacking 3 is impressive. So it gets you an automatic super fallacy. Now stacking 4 and 5 is also incredibly impressive. You're saying it should, yeah, I mean, on the other hand, we don't really want to have to count like 4 or 5, because there's so many ones that could be in between. Because even 6 is iffy. Should we have just the 10? Should it just go 3 is a regular super fallacy and 10 is a 100x multiplier? Because this might never ever happen again. Even for Craig, like this whole debate, this is the only time he stacked 10. Most of the time he didn't even stack 3 that often. I mean, look, he got 340 regular fallacies, although it would be whatever. It would be 24 less because we counted some as super fallacies. But he only got 24 super fallacies. out of the 24, this is the only time he stacked 10. Yes, Mr. 1-to-1. I know that. This is a rough draft. I can make it a little bigger for you. The problem is there's so many colors on the screen. If I make it white, you won't see it. If I make it black, it'll still be tough because some of the text is black. Maybe yellow. Let's see if you can see yellow. Nah, that's not great either. Is that a little better? Is that a little better? This is just a rough draft. When we finalize the system, I'll try green. There's still a little bit of green around, but maybe. It's not letting me. Oh, hold on. Let's see. What color outline you want? Maybe. I wonder if red. Oh, a darker green. I think the white might have been maybe black. Okay, I tried to make it a lot darker black. Is that easier? That should be better. Okay. I mean, this was all rough, so this isn't how it's gonna look in final at all. This is all just super rough. Okay, so let's do. Okay, so the multiplier. Should the multiplier kick in at? I think 6 might be too tough, a little too subjective over how many simultaneous fallacies. Whereas with 10, I mean, 10 is just legendary to be able to stack 10. Although stacking 8, 9 is tough, but I don't know. We just make it 10, and then it'll be a 10x multiplier? So should he get 100? Wait, the 10x multiplier is a lot too. Like, should he really get 100? So, or if you stack 10 fallacies, do you get 10 super fallacies and 100 regular fallacies? 10x the internet should break. Heracles, what do you think? Because I guess 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fallacies. I mean, I guess they should be getting something, but it's almost like it's too much work. I mean, I could leave it this size. It's fine. I mean, this is all rough anyway. What about hot pink? Would hot pink stand out? Craig probably likes that color, right? Sphinx Bear says, yeah, keep it simple. 10 fallacies, 10x multiplier. But, so you're saying he should get 100 super fallacies, Sphinx Bear? Or should he get 100 regular fallacies and 10 super fallacies? Because 100 super fallacies, that might that might cause too much damage in the final count because super fallacies need to count a lot more than. Riz thinks this is too many rules. No, come on. You can't let him get away with stacking 10 fallacies in a single statement and not have it count extra. This might be the only time anybody's ever going to stack 10, though, Riz. I mean, I can't believe we're even discussing it. Like, I never thought we would even discuss this. I thought stacking 3 would be so rare that apparently it's not. Yeah, so the 10 should count extra, but how should we count it? Because I'm hesitant. Yeah, 100 regular seems better than 100 super, because supers need to count for so much that if someone does a 10x, if someone stacks 10, they basically won the Dunning-Kruger championship right there. You shouldn't be allowed to win just because you stack 10 and nobody else can do it. However, it should still have a lot of weight. So either 100, maybe 100 regular and 10 supers. So it's kind of like a 10x multiplier on the super and a 100x multiplier on the regular. Does that sound fair to everybody? Heracles, what do you think about that? Sphinx Bear, don't make this too crazy. The same stack after being corrected. Okay, that might be too much too much. That might be too much because we yeah, I think just the Heracles rule should apply, whereas if he keeps repeating it like another 5 times, then he'll auto qualify for another super dinger. Especially considering his baseline. So for somebody else repeatedly committing the same ones, it would be weighted more than for someone like Craig as per the Heracles rule to the baseline. So what does everybody think? A 10x, if you stack 10 fallacies in a single statement, you get 100 regular fallacies and 10 super fallacies. So it's a 10x on the super multiplier and it's 100x on the regular fallacy multiplier. I wish Dave Scott was here. I really would want to know what he thinks about this. I mean, we can change it later and we can do a review. Maybe we can do one more stream, maybe later in the week when more people. Yeah, let's do this. Maybe Friday or later in the week, we could do another stream where we confirm all the rules before I set them in stone to be the new system, because I know a lot of people are missing this stream right now. So let's do that. So for now, we'll do, if you do a 10x, if you stack 10 fallacies, single statement, and you get 100 regular, it counts as 100 regular fallacies and 10 super fallacies. So that was the previous one I already gave him. So that would, and so it was previously at 23. So now his super fallacies is going to be 33 instead of 24. So this is tentative. So I just put that down tentative. The intro is gonna. No, I think I could do the intro in probably 2 minutes. Just I mean, I already did it at the beginning of this stream when I summarized everything. I did it in like 2 or 3 minutes. Basically, the only thing I would add to that is also if you stack 10 fallacies in a single statement, you get 100 regular fallacies added and 10 super fallacies added. That's it. Extra 20 seconds. As long as we don't change anything else. Or we still haven't figured out what happened. So, hold on. We had the so yeah, the combo oh yeah, I forgot about the combo multiplier. Yeah, you're right, Riz. It's gonna be like another minute to explain the combo multiplier. Because as soon as you hit 3 super dingers in a row, you activate a 10x multiplier on fallacy combos. All right, is everybody still with us? All right, so let's continue.
Not just this fallacy, because it's also kind of a tu quo qui, because he's asking him for proof. Caleb's asking for proof on how he knows it's one, not the other. Craig is just outright denying. No, you provide the proof, because he didn't provide his own proof.
Hold on a second. Would that have been a tu quo qui logical fallacy as well? Would that have been 11? Okay, hold on. So if it's 10 or more stacked, okay, let's do this. Every 10, it activates a 10x multiplier. So whether it's fair or not, if you hit 3 fallacies in a row, you only get 1 super fallacy no matter what. And then you have you have to stack at least 10 to activate the multiplier to get the 100 regular and the 10 supers added. Then you'll have to hit, should it be 15 or 20 to hit the next level activator, or to activate the next multiplier? Like, because he might have stacked 11 on that one. It was either 10 or, because I didn't count the tu quo qui. What does everybody think? Should it be 100 multiplier? So, like, if you stack 20 fallacies in a single statement, I don't think this is possible for anyone other than Craig. But let's say Craig stacked 20 in a single statement. Should he get 1,000 regular fallacies added and 100 super fallacies added? What do you guys think? Heracles, are you still here? Just to be clear, like, let's say because Craig either stacked 10 or 11 that time. It might have been 11. Yeah, but Ethan, we're trying to figure this out here. Should you have to hit 20 fallacies in a single statement to activate the next level multiplier? Like, if you can do 20 fallacies in a single statement, you should be able to get an additional 1,000 regular fallacies and 100 super fallacies, right? Does that sound fair to everybody? Or should it be 15? Or should it just go by tens? So let's say somebody stacks 30 fallacies in a single statement. Should they get 10,000 regular fallacies and 1,000 super fallacies? I think that's fair. I think we could just leave it in tens. So other than the 3 stack, which gets you 1 super, then a 10 stack gets you 100 fallacies and 10 super fallacies. Sphinx Bear, you never know with Craig. With other people, yeah, I don't think most people can even dream of hitting 10. I know Sartain's definitely hit 3, 4, 5, 6 a whole bunch of times. I don't know if he's ever hit 10, though. All right, let's continue. I don't know where Heracles went. Maybe there should be a 3rd Heracles rule for this situation. He's pretty good at thinking of stuff.
It's also a whole bunch of other fallacies, but I don't want to, spend like 10 minutes going over every single fallacy, because these are...
We actually just spent 30 minutes doing just that, but...
all overlapping fallacies. But it's also just flat out denial, because clearly this, not only does a model exist, but there's actual real experiments you can do. I've already played it before, but I'll just play it again, just for goofs like Craig to comprehend that not only equally valid, it's much more valid because you can have your dependent variables, independent variables, and controls, and clearly demonstrate this with basic magnets instead of relying on fancy equipment from scientists and priests who inject data to tell you that gravitational waves were detected when they obviously weren't.
The mathematical model that LIGO uses that shows that it's gravitational waves does exist.
Again, both models exist. Just because a mathematical model exists.
Look at Craig there. I think he only stacked 2 fallacies there. It's actually kind of impressive when he's not doing massive stacks.
Doesn't make it true.
And the predictions that we can make from that happen to match the experimental data that we get from LIGO.
Does he mean the injected data? The fraudulent data?
Heracles, at what point are we going to meet the Heracles rule 2 for repetition? Because he just did it again. Should that be a super fallacy? But in all fairness, you know what's kind of crazy? When regular people make fallacies, it's like, oh, you did a fallacy. With Craig, he's usually stacking so many at the same time. It's like we got to give him props when he only commits 1 or 2 at the same time. Yes, CF, I know. I listened to a few clips of that just to know what I was going to get myself into. I'm doing the Sartane versus Zerka. I think Sartane versus Zerka is the next one I'm doing after I finish this one. And then I also set up Witsit versus Myers, their one-on-one follow-up. I'm actually almost done compiling that one. So, and then PhD Tony versus Witsit will be the one after that. I don't know if my brain can handle it, though. Yes, CF, that's why I'm refining the system, too, because also Leo, whatever his name is, that guy's rough. That guy's rough. I mean, we definitely need the new system in play for Leo as well.
And the way that you isolate the gravitational waves is by making a prediction.
Wait. Okay, so we have to. Okay, I don't care that he said it before. You don't isolate by predicting. Like, that's not how it works. Like, I brought up the prison example. You don't isolate a prisoner and put him in the hole by predicting. You don't isolate him from from Gen Pop by making predictions. Isolation is an active process. Like, you would need, again, the variables clearly delineated and the controls, and you manipulate your variable while having controls. That way you can verify the isolation instead of just making guesses or predictions like a palm reader or a psychic. Nothing is isolated by reading a palm. So, is that a super dinger? Even though I think he already got a super dinger from that before. But how many times does he have to repeat the same thing to get hit with another super dinger? According to Heracles, I think he said 3 to 5 times. I think it's been 3 to 5 times now because it's definitely been at least 3. This is the 4th or 5th time he went around the same circle. Did he say, I don't want to talk to Austin anymore? Mr. One-to-One. Oh, Bryant Myers was so hilarious in that one. But even Bryant Myers, he wasn't stacking 10 fallacies at a time. I remember it was like 3, 4 maybe. He wasn't going 10 stacks like Craig here. Where'd Heracles go? I think Craig might have just met the burden for just repeating so many times. We might have to go super dinger here. What does everybody think? I'm leaning to super dinger because this is like the 5th time he refuted it. Or used the same, or alleged he attempted to refute it with the same circle of nonsense. With the same fallacious circle. He didn't make a new one. He just repeated the same thing for the 5th time, demonstrating that he doesn't understand the scientific method. Is it enough to spit your drink out? I'm not sure. It's just he keeps doing it. Heracles' rule 2 was that you have to repeat quite a few times to get hit for it again. But now that has actually happened. Ethan says Super Dinger. Mr. Wonder, Jim was hitting multiple combos constantly. But you got here a little early, so you weren't here. Craig went 4 Super Dingers back to back. So not just regular combos, he went 4 Super Dingers. That's why he got that fallacy combo score all the way up to 114. I want this system to be the most refined, accurate system for determining Dunning-Kruger championships. So Ethan votes Super Dinger because he repeated the same thing so many times. What's everybody else voting? Riz, CF, Sphinx Bear, Heracles. What do you think? Do you think he repeated it enough times to get another Super Dinger? I don't know if it was the 4th or 5th time. 5th time should definitely be Super Dinger, but I'm not sure it was the 4th or 5th. I mean, we were laughing so hard. I mean, how is it even possible to keep track accurately? Craig's rolling. Let that man cook. Okay, Sphinx Bear's going Super Dinger. That's good enough for me. Let's give him another Super Dinger. Was that also a combo though? I wasn't paying attention to how many of those he rolled. I think it was only 3 or 4, and they were relatively slow. So I'm not sure that stream could qualify for a combo. This is tough. This is not easy stuff.
Of the thing the gravitational waves will do.
Okay, that's a combo. Because he was just streaming, like he was like, yeah, it was rolling. Craig's pretty impressive if you think about it. I mean, he even caused us to make a whole new revolutionary system. I mean, nobody else has dropped the floor out on fallacy so many times. Like, no. We got to give Craig his props. I mean, again, like, we have to give this individual, however he identifies as, his props.
Oh, wow, this is definitely a super fallacy. You don't isolate Bigfoot from Mothman or the mailman by predicting that the mail will be in the mailbox. That's not, see, this guy just, he doesn't grasp the absolute basics of what these variables even are. There's nowhere to go. I mean, this guy's just too much of a vegetable.
If gravitational waves are real and happening, then they will do this.
If Bigfoot is real, if the mail is dropped off by Bigfoot, the mail will end up in the mailbox at this time. If you check the mailbox and the mail is there, that...
All right, we have another conundrum. After he says it the 5th time or the 7th, whatever, is there a reset on it? Or do we have to wait for him to say it like again, like a 10th time or a 15th time? I mean, this is the next question. Yeah, Heracles, we invoked your second rule because Craig said the same thing about the prediction proving. It's already been like the 4th or 5th or 6th time that he said the same thing. So we gave him another super dinger as per your second rule. But Heracles, now we're in a new conundrum because now that he said it again and got hit for the super dinger, and he also got a fallacy combo because he streamed like 8 regular fallacies in a row there, but not super dingers in a row. I don't know if that'll ever happen again. So now, does it reset, or because if he just says the same thing again after being refuted so many times, does he have to say it 10 times in a row now to hit another super dinger? Because obviously, if he repeats it again right now, I mean that's just regular fallacy. Sphinx Bear, I keep laughing to myself, thinking about how triggered all those anti-flat Earth goofs are gonna be by this. I don't think they even dared to address the previous three. And the little clip I did earlier, I posted that all over Twitter, where I had on the screen all the empirically verifiable definitions of the fallacy appealing to the stone and poisoning the well that Craig and all those goofs were hallucinating I was committing while counting their own moments of illiteracy. Nobody's refuted a single point, and they didn't even address that video. Heracles, the baseline prevents supers for repeats. Well, you said yesterday, because I said, well, what if they repeated X amount of times? Because that might cause you to spit your drink. Because if they keep going with it, and you said, I believe you said the 5th time maybe, then they would get hit for the super dinger again, which is what just happened. And now the question is, should it reset again? Because he's going again, technically the 6th time. Obviously, he shouldn't get a super dinger. But is it every 5? So if he repeats it 10 times, is he going to get his 3rd super dinger? So he got the first super dinger. Then after 4 or 5 more repetitions, he got his 2nd. In another 4 or 5, can he get his 3rd super dinger if he just continues repeating the same thing? Sphinx Bear, you know what's funny? I call them out on their psychological projection, but since they don't know what psychological projection is, the responses are just hilarious with that. Yeah, Heracles, it is tough, especially with a guy like Craig. Because Bryant Myers did a lot of repeating too. I don't think Sartain did, though. I think Sartain was fairly diverse with his fallacy streams. Yeah, Myers did a lot of repeating, but I don't know if he would have been repeating super dingers, though. He was repeating, like, just standard fallacies. Craig's obviously, I mean, Craig's on another level here. He can repeat super dingers and stack fallacies over 10 at a time. I mean, this is a talented individual here. We gotta give this guy his props. So what's everybody's vote? Is it you have to repeat 5 times to get the 2nd super dinger for the same goofery, and then another 5? So once you get to 10 times for the same goofery, then you can get hit with the super dinger for the same statement. Because we can't just let them get away with saying the same super dinger without being called for it. It's I mean, it's not exactly the same, but like in a game, like a basketball game, if you keep fouling, you're not gonna not count fouls. Like those are fouls. You can get fouled out of the whole game. Sphinx Bear, yeah. So what's everybody's vote here? I mean, it doesn't matter now because he only repeated it once. But if he repeats it 4 more times, I guess we're gonna have to hit him with. I like the rule. You have to repeat 5 times, and then you're eligible for a super dinger on the same thing you said before if you repeat it 5 times. Does that sound fair to everybody? Or how about this? 5 repetitions of previous dingers or super dingers make you eligible to receive an additional dinger or super dinger, and it'll be a case by case basis. So 5 repetitions simply qualifies eligibility. Okay, so let's continue.
Your prediction is proven, and it turns out that it can only be Bigfoot that dropped it off.
To the interferometer experiment. That's what you do to see if that happens based on your prediction. You isolate other things
So he just said it 2 more times. So he'll be eligible in another 2.
like electromagnetism by measuring to see if there's electromagnetic interference. You isolate atmospheric interference by putting the LIGO in massive vacuum chambers.
Wait, what did he just say? You isolate by putting LIGO in a vacuum chamber. Wow. Wow. So what does everybody make of that? Putting LIGO in a vacuum chamber isolates electromagnetism? What? What? I mean, even the scientism cult, I mean, they're doing experiments with magnets in space as well. So, I mean, not to mention, why would ether not exist in space or in a vacuum chamber? So let's see. What would that be? That would be false premise because he doesn't understand the scientific method. False cause, circular reasoning, false dichotomy, reductive logical. So that's a 5 stack right there. So that's a super fallacy. I mean, I don't think it's 10, but I don't want to spend hours on this. So we'll give him another super fallacy for that one.
Well, they actually didn't. They didn't do that, and I think I'm gonna have to end it here because I don't know how much more of this I can handle. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to go part 3 on this. This goop is so utterly clueless. He thinks that magnets do not. They somehow wouldn't have any of their forces if they were in a vacuum chamber. I mean, anybody, even people with mental disabilities. I mean, you could just do a quick Google. This guy doesn't even know how to do a 2-second Google search. I mean, come on. Just look it up. IOP spark. Magnets will attract and repel just as well through a vacuum as in air. Physics.stackexchange.com. Magnets work perfectly in a vacuum and in the absence of a gravitational field. They don't depend on any environment or medium. I mean, you could just find this endlessly.
Well, I've never done this before where I went over my original responses. I had no idea they were this hilarious because I'm honestly just trying to give objective commentary. I'm just calling it how I see it. I'm not trying to be funny, but it's actually pretty hilarious.
Endlessly. I mean, middle school level, high school level. So how is it isolating by putting them in a vacuum when magnets work just not work just as well, according to all of the available scientific literature, that even all of the scientism literature that Craig is a religious follower of, even his own religious dogma. Any source you
The inflection's pretty hilarious. Like, I'm in such disbelief that he could have said something so dumb. Like, I was honestly in just complete disbelief.
want will clearly show that magnets work just as well in a vacuum. So how is doing this in a vacuum isolating electromagnetism? So that's it for me. I mean, I just can't handle any more of this. I'm really going to
Okay, so we finally finished the previous 2, and the count stands as it is right now. So the last thing we need to figure out is so how do we do the final count? Because how does super fallacies count against fallacies? So, for example, let's say Sartain has over 1,500 regular fallacies, but let's say he has only one super fallacy. So, how are we gonna do this? Because super fallacies they have so much more weight, or should there be an equivocation here? Should one super fallacy equal 100 regular fallacies? Because I don't want to give awards for verbal diarrhea because it's the championship of Dunning Kruger. It's not the championship of verbal diarrhea. So just because someone can talk really fast like Sartain and spew more fallacies, that doesn't mean that the fallacies that he spewed were dumber than super fallacies from Craig, even though Craig couldn't spew as fast. Okay, so Heracles votes 25. What is everybody thinking? Because, well, a triple fallacy is already a fallacy stack of 3 or more is automatically one super fallacy. So it can't be worth less than 3. I don't think it should be worth less than 10. I'm thinking 100. Or, I don't know, is 25 enough? Because super fallacies are rare. Because look, even Craig, he only got 353, and it's actually going to be minus 26 because you don't get regular fallacies and super fallacies. So Craig would have 327. I forgot he got that multiplier. So he's at 427 fallacies right now. But if he didn't get the multiplier, he would have only hit 327 fallacies, but 26 super fallacies. So let's say Sartain hit 1,500 regular, but he only got, let's say, 2 supers. How do we compare that? Like that's the real question here. Because if this is all finished with, let's say, 1 or 2 more parts, Craig might not hit more than, let's say, 600 regulars. Oh, I see what you're saying, Heracles. That would be kind of hard, though, because if we're iffy on the amount, like, for example, he could have stacked 4 or 5, and I've never done that in previous fallacies. I've only counted one at a time, even if they doubled up. That's why we introduced the super fallacy category. I think it would just be too complicated to do that. Riz's brain hurts. But we're only going like 5 more minutes. We just have to figure out how they count against each other, and that's it. And then this stream is over. We'll give everybody a couple days to kind of catch up and watch this, and then we'll kind of try to set it in stone maybe Friday or Saturday. Yeah, but I ding each one I count as one. So, for example, I don't ding them double for the same one. So when someone stacks 2 and 3, I only counted 1. I never double counted. Yeah, Sphinx Bear, that's too little though. Like that's the bare minimum because they already count as that. Riz needs electrolytes. Yeah, no, I've never. If I ding each one individually, I don't ding it like if they make 3 statements that are fallacies, I give them 3 dings. If each fallacy was stacked 3, 4, 5, 6 high, I still only gave them the 1. Multiply them, then divide by the total time of the debate. Take a fallacy per minute, right? That's brilliant, Ethan. We need that as an additional category. That's brilliant. Yes, yes, because that's excellent because Sartain did that extra segment. Like he did an extra 30, 40 minute segment after the debate where he racked up the fallacies. So fallacy per minute rate is absolutely critical. That's very important. Nice job, Ethan. Ethan W. That's a W for Ethan W. Okay, the other way we can score this. So fallacy per minute rate, I'm thinking that's massive. That should be at least 50% of the total score. So how are we going to weight this? The other way we can do this is we can count regular fallacies for, let's say, 20, if we count that for 25%, and then we count super fallacies for 20% of the total score, and fallacy per minute rate is 50% of the score. Or let's say but then what about fallacy combos? Okay, so if fallacy per minute, like that's actually got to be the top metric. That's a brilliant metric. So if fallacy per minute is, let's say, 40% of the score, and then we do 20 and 20. If we do regular fallacies maybe should be 20, super fallacies should be 25% of this total score, and then 5% for fallacy combos. Like, how are we going to do this? This is what we need to figure out. But the fallacy per minute rate, and the other thing brilliant about that is that doesn't need to be on the screen until the very end, so it doesn't take up the real estate. So it's perfect because it doesn't take up real estate, and it's only going to be calculated at the end. So now we just have to figure out how everything is weighed. But I think fallacy per minute should be weighed a lot. And super fallacies need to weigh way more than regular fallacies. And fallacy combos, I don't even know what to do with that. Dingers and zingers are kind of just for fun. And what we discussed earlier, like dingers and zingers can cancel each other out. And then how much are super dingers worth? Because hitting a super dinger is not easy. No, zingers will never take away fallacies. Zingers and dingers are independent of fallacies. So zingers can take away dingers. So if you had one zinger, one dinger, then they're equaled out. Well, I don't know if there's going to be an app for this. It's just going to be the metric system we use. Because I don't know how you could make it an app, because, like, how would software understand whether something's a fallacy or not, because it's missing all the context. Okay, Heracles, do you have any idea how to weigh this? So we have regular fallacies, super fallacies, fallacy per minute rate, and fallacy combos. All else being equal, like if there's ever a tie situation, then I guess we can look at dingers and zingers. But those are mostly just for fun. So you know what? I'm going to do a poll in the community tab to see how everybody wants this weighted. But just the last thing we're going to go over, just like the last minute here, I just want to get an idea of what everybody thinks it should be weighed. Should fallacies have the most weight, or should fallacies be, I think fallacies should have equal weight with fallacy per minute. And then super fallacies should have the most weight. Because again, what if Craig talks that slow and he only hits, let's say, 700 fallacies, and Sartain has 1,500 fallacies, but Craig has way more super fallacies? Ethan, you mean egregious by category? Like super fallacies count 4 times as, I mean, there's 2 ways to do it. We could either say super fallacies count as a certain amount of regular fallacies, Or we can say the super fallacy category counts for 60% of the total score. So there's two different ways to do it. I guess the simpler way to do it would just be okay, here's the simplest way. Super fallacies count, let's say either one super fallacy counts as, let's say, 50 regular fallacies, and then the fallacy count and the fallacy per minute rate are counted equally. And then you average that out. Well, actually, there's another problem with the fallacy per minute rate. Because what if a guy barely talks the entire debate? Like that jet fighter pilot guy? It's a shame Dave Scott's not in here. He's always got good ideas. You know what? I'm gonna make a poll in the community tab, and we'll discuss it there. So it'll also give us some time to recharge our brains after dealing with Craig, because technically the system has nothing to do with him. So we'll just weigh how many fallacies versus super fallacies versus fallacies per minute rates, and we'll figure out how they all should be weighed. But I think super fallacies need to have a lot of weight, because that way, because if someone's Dunning-Kruger's off the charts, but they're just a really dumb, slow speaker, they shouldn't lose just because they talk slower. That doesn't make someone dumber or smarter based on how fast they talk. So you guys are kind of just in favor of a single number at the end. And how do fallacy combos factor into this? Actually, that's the last thing we'll discuss. What are we going to do with fallacy combos? Because it is impressive to go back to back on fallacies. We can't not count that. Yeah, we have to figure out what to do with fallacy combos. Fallacies per second. Well, you know, it would be tough if there was a way to only count the amount of time a person talks. Like if there were timers connected to their mics. Because if we're doing the overall time of the debate, that's a little iffy, because if one guy's just filibustering, but the other guy's a complete goof, he didn't have the opportunity to spew as many fallacies or super fallacies. Well, changing a topic is kind of like a non sequitur. So that's a regular non sequitur fallacy. Avoiding the issue is actually a literal fallacy as well, just fallacy of avoidance. Did they beat the frame rate for the fallacies per second? Craig's the only one that has a chance at that. Okay, so what are we doing with the fallacy combo? Let's figure that out, and then we'll be done with this, and then I'll just do a poll in the community tab and on Twitter, I guess. So how do we weigh fallacy combos in all of this? Should a fallacy combo simply be worth two fallacies because it's not as egregious as a super fallacy. And when you're stringing super dingers, you already got the multiplier to increase your fallacy combo points. So should fallacy combo points simply be worth double the fallacies? Or is that not quite fair? Yeah, that might not be quite fair to the verbal diarrhea masters. No, but that's the point, Heracles. Without Craig, there's no need. There's no real need for a new system anyway, because a standard system would be good. He just illustrated how dumb fallacy stacks can be. But we could always change the system as well. Once I do Sartain versus Zerka, and then Witsit versus Myers again, then we can kind of tweak the system if it needs tweaking. So fallacy combos are kind of, yeah, we need to figure out. Okay, if I think we have to do weighted scores. So if regular fallacies count for, let's say, 40% of the total score, and super fallacies count for 50, and then fallacy combos count for 10. That way it could be a little bit more fair. Like not necessarily exactly those values, but something like that. Where fallacy combos are counted, but they're not gonna, they shouldn't really count more than super. Well, I don't know. It's tough. Yeah, that might work. As long as the super fallacies count for way more than regular fallacies, that way it makes it fair that just fast talkers can't dominate the Dunning-Kruger championships. Because there's plenty of dummies who talk slow that are just saying completely fallacious things that are way dumber. They just don't talk as fast. So as long as super fallacies count the most, then the fallacy combo simply counts as two fallacies. Yeah, I think if they count as three, that might be too much. So fallacy combo simply might. So let's see here. Yeah, I really want Dave's opinion on this because he kind of he was thinking just the fallacies should really determine everything. Ethan with the baseline. One singular category to set everything against it to do a weighted score. So if they string four fallacies in a combo, they get the four and an additional points for the multiplier. Wait, hold on a second. Which multiplier? The super dinger is a 10x multiplier. Super dinger combo of three or more. Regular fallacy combo, like if you string 4 or 5 combos in a second, non-stacked, you get one fallacy combo point. They get 4 fallacy combo points plus multipliers in the fallacy combo category. Ethan, that would be really complicated. We're trying to keep this as simple. I mean, it would probably be fair, but complicated. All right, my brain's pretty fried. So I'm going to put it in the community tab and then see what everybody thinks about it. All right, so this was pretty fun. So thanks again, everybody, for joining the MindShock podcast and helping us determine the new system. Still got a little bit of work to do, so I'll do a poll, and within the next few days, everybody can think about it, and then around the end of the week, Friday or Saturday, we could do another podcast where we just make the system definitive, and then that'll be it from now. So I hope everybody enjoyed another edition of the MindShock podcast. If you want to help support the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. If you're still not getting them, like and comment on more videos, or just go to youtube.com/MindShock. You could also become a YouTube member for exclusive streams and chats. Like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind. Leave them in the comment section. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.